Now, in the previous lecture, we had discussed about how the decay process which was assumed, the beta decay process, it was assumed that a parent nuclei, it decays to a daughter and beta particle is emitted. So it was assumed a daughter nucleus is formed and beta particle is emitted, and no other particle was discovered till 1933. So scientists, they assumed the beta decay to be in this particular form only. So considering this form of the beta decay process, there were various failures. So first was the failure of the conservation of linear and angular momentum, and second was the scientists, they were not able to explain the continuous energies which were taken by the beta particles. So if the beta decay, it had this particular form, then the beta particles, they must have, all the beta particles which are emitted, they must have exactly same energy. But experimentally it was seen that beta particles which are emitted from a radioactive substance, they had a continuous energies ranging from 0 to a maximum value. So these failures, they led the scientists to think about another particle which is emitted along with the beta particles. So all these failures which we had discussed in the previous lectures, they made the scientists to think that some another particle is also emitted along with the beta particles. All these difficulties were eliminated by Pauli in 1933. So Pauli is considered to be the discoverer of neutrino. So all these difficulties, they were eliminated by Pauli in 1933 by assuming the existence of an additional particle. So Pauli, he assumed that an additional particle is emitted along with the beta particles, and this particle was called as neutrino. Now the continuous energies which were taken by beta. So if the beta decay, it had this form X, it decays to Y and beta particle is emitted. So according to this decay process, beta particle, it must take only exact same amount of energy. But when Pauli, he considered the additional particle is also emitted along with the beta particles. So what happens, how this particle, this additional third particle, how it explains the continuous energies? So continuous energy, it was explained by this additional third particle. So it was said that the parent nuclei, it decays to a daughter nuclei, beta particle is emitted and neutrino is emitted along with that beta particle. So when this beta decay process happens, some energy is emitted that we call as Q value. As we had calculated in the previous lectures, Q value for beta negative, beta positive and electron capture, which is Q value is nothing but the energy which is emitted in a particular decay process. So when X decays to Y and emitting the beta particle, some amount of energy will be emitted, and this energy is given by delta M times C square. This we have already calculated. So this amount of energy which is released, it is taken by the beta particle as well as the daughter nuclei. So if you are considering this form of beta decay, then this extra amount of energy which is released, it is taken by the beta particle and the daughter nuclei. Which means that the beta particles, they must have exact energy, they must have exact form of energy. But now this additional particle, it was able to explain the continuous energies which were taken by the beta particles. So let's say from this Q value of energy, this energy, it is released in this beta decay process. So some portion of the Q value of the energy is taken by the daughter nucleus. So it will be obviously taken by the daughter nucleus, and the rest amount of energy which is left, it is just distributed between the beta particle and neutrino. The rest amount of energy which is emitted, it is shared between the beta particle and the neutrino. Let's say 2 kilo electron volt energy is emitted. So this 2 kilovolt energy, 2 kilo electron volt energy which is released, it is shared between beta particle and the neutrino. So let's say beta particle, it takes whole 2 kilo electron volt. So neutrino in that case will have only 0 amount of energy. Let's say the beta particle, it takes 1 kilo electron volt and the another 1 kilo electron volt will be taken by neutrino. Or you can say the beta particle, it takes no energy, it has 0 energy. So all this energy will be taken by neutrino. So this is the reason of the continuous energy ranges which are taken by beta particle. And the reason is that additional third particle is also released along with the beta particles, and the energies, they are distributed between the beta particle and the additional particle which is called as neutrino. So this is the reason of the continuous energies which are taken by beta particle. So either the beta particle, it can take the whole amount of energy. So let's say if 2 kilo electron volt energy is released, it is shared between the beta and the neutrino. Let's say beta particle, it takes the whole 2 kilo electron volt energy. In that case neutrino will be left with no energy. Or beta particle, it can take 1 kilo electron volt, then in that case neutrino will take 1 kilo electron volt. So this is the reason that the beta particle, it has continuous amount of energies. So this decay process, this beta decay process, it explained the continuous energies which are taken by the beta particles. So the energy is distributed between the beta particle and the neutrino. So energy is distributed between beta particle and the neutrino. Therefore the beta particles, they have continuous energies. So this additional particle neutrino, it was able to explain the continuous energies which are taken by beta particles. Now how this neutrino, it explains the conservation of linear and angular momentum. To preserve not only the principle of conservation of energy, so here we have seen the conservation of energy concept, the electric charge and the angular momentum, some properties are ascribed to neutrino to preserve not only the principle of conservation of energy but also that of electric charge and the angular momentum. Some properties, they are given to neutrino to preserve the conservation of energy principle and also to preserve the conservation of electric charge and angular momentum. Some properties, they were given to this neutrino by Pauli. So what were those properties? First of all, the beta decay process. In beta decay, neutron, it can decay to proton and electron is emitted, and along with electron antineutrino is emitted. Or the proton, it decays to neutron, then positron is emitted and neutrino is emitted in that case. So in this decay process, if we do not consider neutrinos, if we do not consider these neutrinos, you can see the neutron, it has no charge, proton has positive charge and electron has one negative charge. So the charge, final charge of the products is 0 and the charge of the reactants is also equal to 0. In the second case, the proton, it has 1 unit of charge, neutron has 0 charge and positron has 1 unit of charge. So in this case, the charge is also conserved, the electric charge is also conserved, which means that the charge on neutrino or the antineutrino, the charge on neutrino and the antineutrino, it must be equal to 0. So the charge is already conserved, therefore neutrino has 0 charge. So the first property which is given to neutrino is that it is neutral particle. Now the second property, as the beta particle, it obeys Fermi-Dirac statistics. This we had seen in the previous lecture, that the beta particle, it is nothing but electron or it can be a positron, and those are fermions. Electron and positron, they are fermions and they have half integral spin, which means they obey Fermi-Dirac statistics. And in this decay process, if you consider this decay process, this carbon-14 nucleus, it was a boson because it had integral spin. The nitrogen-14 nucleus, it was also a boson because it had integral spin. Now the beta particle, it had half integral spin. Therefore the spin was not conserved in this case. So therefore we had said that this beta decay process, it violated the angular momentum conservation principle. Now if we consider the additional particle, which is neutrino in this case, if you consider this additional particle, so what will be the angular momentum of, or you can say what will be the spin of this particle? To conserve angular momentum, what spin should be given to this neutrino? So here we have carbon 14, which has 0 amount of spin. Then nitrogen 14, it has 1 integral spin. Then this beta particle, obviously it will have half integral spin because it is a fermion. Now to make all the products as bosons, this neutrino must be a fermion. Now in the products, in the reactant side, that is carbon 14, this whole system is a boson because it has integral spin. And on the product side, all the products, the whole combination of the system of the products, it must be a boson because on the reactant side we have boson, therefore on the product side we also have a boson. So all these products, when they are combined, they must have integral spin. So all these systems, when they are combined, they must have integral spin. So for all these particles, for all the combination of these particles to have an integral spin, these neutrinos, they must be a fermion. That is, this neutrino, it must have half integral spin. So when you will do the coupling of all these spins, you will get integral spin. So when you will do the combination of all these spins, only then you will get integral spins. So this is why neutrino, it is considered to be a fermion. That is, it has spin of half h cut. So it will behave a fermion, that is, it will obey Fermi-Dirac statistics. So the second property which is given to neutrino is that it is a fermion and it has a spin of half h cut. Now the graphs that we had drawn in the starting of the beta particle, in the starting of the beta decay lecture, so we had drawn the two graphs for the case of beta negative as well as for the case of beta positive decay. So those two graphs, they were very different from each other. So the graph of beta negative decay was in this manner and the graph for beta positive decay was in this manner. So what is the reason behind the beta negative and beta positive particles to have different graphs? So the reason is the Coulomb correction. The reason of the difference in the graphs of beta negative and beta positive decay is the Coulomb correction. Now when the parent nuclei, it decays to a daughter and electron is emitted and antineutrino is emitted along with electron, or when the parent nuclei, it decays to a daughter nucleus and positron is emitted and neutrino is emitted along with the positron. So this first decay process is the beta negative decay. The second decay process is the beta positive decay. Now this is the nucleus that I have drawn. This is the daughter nucleus. Electron has been emitted and antineutrino has been emitted. So I have shown beta negative decay. So this is the daughter nucleus. Let's say this is Y nucleus. Electron has been emitted and antineutrino particle, it has been emitted from the parent nuclei. So why this graph is different? Why the graph of beta negative, it goes in the upward direction, whereas for the case of beta positive, it bends in the downward direction. Now on the y-axis we have number of beta particles and on the horizontal axis we have the energies which are taken by the beta particles, that is energies which are taken by the electrons. Now if you will consider this daughter nucleus, now this electron, it has been emitted, so we are considering beta negative decay first. So this electron is emitted. Now this electron, it is negatively charged and the nucleus which is left behind, which is the daughter nucleus, nucleus is always positive charged. The nucleus, it is always positively charged because it has protons and neutrons. The protons, they are positively charged and neutrons are neutral particles. So the nucleus is positively charged and this electron, it has been emitted. So this electron, it has negative charge. So this nucleus, which is positive charged, it will try to attract this electron. So this electron, it will be emitted out with a certain amount of energy, but this nucleus, it will try to slow down the electron because of Coulombic attraction between the positive and the negative charge. This nucleus, it will tend to slow down these electrons. So therefore the Coulomb field of daughter nucleus, it will either accelerate the positrons. So this was the case we had discussed for electron, that the nucleus, it will slow down the electrons, and if positrons are emitted, that is positive particles are emitted, so this nucleus, it will try to repel, or you can say it will try to increase the energy of the electron. So the Coulombic field of daughter nucleus, it accelerates the positrons. So it will accelerate the positrons, it will increase their energy due to Coulombic repulsion for the case of positrons, and it will decelerate the electrons. So this daughter nucleus, it will try to slow down the electron, but it will try to repel the positrons. So electrons, they will be having lower energies, and the positrons, they will have higher energies because they are repelled by the Coulombic repulsion. So therefore this positron spectrum, it has fewer slower particles. So this positron spectrum, as you can see, that it bends in the downward direction, which means the number of beta particles with lower kinetic energy, they are very less. So from the graph, you can see, from this downward graph of beta positive decay, you can see the number of beta particles for lower amount of kinetic energy, they are very less. But in the case of beta negative decay, the number of beta particles in the lower section of the energy, they have increased. So this graph for beta negative decay, it goes in the upward direction, whereas the graph for beta positive decay, it bends in the downward direction, and the reason is Coulombic attraction for the case of beta negative particles and Coulombic repulsion for the case of beta positive particles. So number of beta particles in the lower section of the energy will be less for the case of beta positive decay, but they will be more for the case of beta negative decay. So the positron spectrum, that is the beta positive decay spectrum, it has fewer slower particles. So it will have less number of low energy particles, but the electron spectrum, it will have more slow particles. So this electron spectrum, or you can say beta negative particle spectrum, it will have more slower particles because electrons, they will be attracted, hence this nucleus will reduce the energy of electron, but this nucleus will increase the energy of positrons. So this is the reason why the graph, they are different for the case of beta negative and for the case of beta positive decay. The next small topic is the inverse beta decay process. So till now we have been discussing about beta decay process. Now what is inverse beta decay? Now this equation shown over here, that neutron decays to proton plus electron is emitted plus antineutrino is emitted. So this is for the case of beta negative decay. Now the second one is the protons, they decay to neutron and positrons are emitted plus neutrinos are emitted. So this is the decay process of beta positive decay. Now if I write this beta decay process in a reverse manner, in an inverse manner, that is, I write the neutrino I take on the left hand side. So in the first equation also, if I take the neutrino on the left hand side, the antineutrino, it will become neutrino when it is taken on the left hand side, and when this neutrino is taken on the left hand side, it will become antineutrino. So these are the equations of inverse beta decay, that is, a neutron, it combines with the neutrino. So antineutrino, it is taken on the left hand side, that is on the reactant side. So it will decay to proton plus electron will be emitted. Now the second beta positive decay process, it can be written in the inverse manner. The proton, it reacts with the antineutrino in this case. So neutrino taken on the left hand side, it will become antineutrino and it will form a neutron plus positron will be emitted. So these are the equations. These two equations are for beta, for the inverse beta decay processes. Now these inverse beta decay process, what is the use of these inverse beta decay? So this inverse beta decay, it helps us in verifying the existence of neutrino. This decay process, this inverse beta decay process, it helps us in verifying the existence of neutrino. That is, the neutrinos, they are actually present. So this gives us the experimental evidence of the presence of neutrino. So how these reactions are made to occur, how this reaction it is made to occur. So in nuclear reactor, so there are various nuclear reactions that occur inside the nuclear reactor, and let's say this beta decay process, it is occurring inside the nuclear reactor. So these two reactions, they are occurring inside the nuclear reactor. So various number of, large number of antineutrino and neutrinos, they are emitted inside this nuclear reactor. So inside this nuclear reactor, various antineutrinos and neutrinos will be emitted. So large amount of neutrino and antineutrinos are emitted in the nuclear reactor. So these neutrinos which are emitted, they are made to combine with the protons. These neutrinos, all these combinations of neutrinos, they are made to combine with the protons. So when this reaction will occur, when the proton, it combines with the antineutrino, it must form a neutron and positron must be emitted. So these neutrinos, they are formed in the nuclear reactor, and these neutrinos and antineutrinos, they are made to combine with the large number of protons which are present in a tank. So these protons, they are present in a tank where we have a cadmium compound. So this cadmium compound is kept, and we will see what is the use of this cadmium compound solution. So these neutrinos and antineutrinos, they are made to combine with the large number of protons, and when the antineutrino, it combines with proton. So this reaction will occur when antineutrino, it combines with the proton, it must form a neutron and positron must be emitted. So when antineutrino, it combines with the proton, so neutron and positron should be emitted. So this neutron will have some amount of energy and positron will have some amount of energy. So these neutrino and positrons are formed. Now this positron which is emitted, this positron, it is a very unstable particle. It combines with electron. So it combines with the electron and pair annihilation will occur. So you have already discussed, you already know what is the process of pair annihilation, in which electron and positron, they combine and two gamma photons are emitted. So two gamma photons, they are emitted, and the energy of each gamma photon is 0.511 mega electron volt. So this you must have done the concept of pair annihilation, in which electron, it combines with positron and two gamma photons are emitted, and energy of each gamma photon will be 0.511 mega electron volt, and this number, it comes from the rest mass energy of the electrons and positrons. So this positron which is emitted in this reaction, it combines with the electron which is present inside that solution. So the positrons, they will combine with the electrons, and two gamma photons of this much energy, they must be emitted. So we are just verifying the existence of these neutrinos. So in this whole process, we are verifying this existence of neutrinos. So if these neutrinos, they really exist, then this reaction must occur, and hence further this reaction must occur. So two gamma photons must be emitted if neutrinos are present at the first place. So if these neutrinos are present, only then these gamma photons will be emitted. Now this neutron which was emitted, it also has some amount of energy. So this neutron, it gives its energy to the cadmium nucleus which is present in the solution. So this neutron, it gives its energy, it transfers its energy to cadmium nucleus. So this cadmium nucleus, it goes to excited state, and when it de-excites to its ground level, it emits photons of 8 mega electron volt energy. So gamma photons are emitted of this much energy when neutrons, they transfer their energy to cadmium nucleus. So this cadmium nucleus, it absorbs the energy from the neutron and goes to the excited state. And when this cadmium nucleus, it goes to the de-excited state or to the ground state, it emits gamma photon of 8 mega electron volt. So now why we are doing this reaction? This reaction, it has been done to verify the existence of neutrons. So if neutrons, they are emitted in beta decay, only then they will combine with protons which are present. So this reaction will occur only when these neutrinos are present. So when these neutrinos are present, only then this reaction will occur, only then neutron will be emitted and positron will be emitted. So only then this positron, it will combine with electron and 2 gamma photons must be emitted, and this neutron, it combines with it gives its energy to the cadmium nucleus, and 8 mega electron volt gamma photon must be emitted from this whole system. And these photons, that is 2 gamma photons of 0.511 mega electron volt, they must be emitted, and 1 gamma photon of 8 mega electron volt must be emitted. And these will be emitted only when this whole reaction will occur. So these gamma photons will be emitted only when this reaction will occur, and this reaction will occur only when this antineutrino, it combines, and antineutrino will combine only when antineutrino is emitted. So antineutrino, it will combine with the protons only when antineutrinos, they are emitted in the beta decay. So if in the detectors which are attached around the nuclear reactor, so if in the detectors which are present around the nuclear reactors, if we detect these gamma radiations, if we detect these gamma photons of exactly this much energy, it means that neutrinos, they are emitted in the beta decay, because these neutrinos, they are emitted from the beta decay. Then these neutrinos, they are made to combine with the proton, neutron is emitted and positron is emitted. So positron, it combines with electron and 2 gamma photons are emitted which are detected by the detectors, and then this neutron, it combines with the cadmium and 8 mega electron volt gamma photon must be emitted which is detected by the detectors. So if we get these gamma photons, if we detect these gamma photons, it means that neutrinos, they are emitted in the beta decay. So inverse beta decay process, it is the experimental verification of existence of neutrinos and antineutrinos. And experimentally, it has been seen that when these reactions, they are made to occur, these gamma photons, they are detected. So experimentally, these gamma photons, they have been detected. So experimentally, the existence of neutrinos, it has been verified.